Good afternoon and a warm welcome to the Sphere 2017 policy session. The framing of health policy by policymakers through its impact on patients is a complex, contested space. Policy making takes place within a backdrop of significant change in government at federal and state level, in departmental structures, their budgets, demographics, in technology, industry, education and research, and perhaps most importantly, in patient expectations. At the street level of healthcare consumers, important practical questions surface from the flood of policy downpour. Do we have a doctor oversupply from our universities and from overseas? Is there an imbalance of generalists and specialists and their coverage of both cities and rural and remote regions? And does this lead to inappropriate care? Are we addressing the fat nation issue with sufficient focus and moral courage with respect to powerful lobby groups and their advertising? Do we have a coherent national strategy for mental health reform? Is our private health insurance poor value for money? Is the funding of public hospitals too complex? Are we taxing alcohol responsibly, keeping up smoking reduction campaigns and helping people quit, promoting heart health, and more generally getting people more active? Are we measuring what matters? The list goes on. In this session, we are most fortunate to have an array of distinguished speakers that include from government, Secretary for New South Wales Health, Elizabeth Coff. Elizabeth will discuss stewardship of the delivery of high-quality healthcare in the context of both patient outcomes and financial sustainability. From the federal government, my former defence colleague and immediate past Secretary of the Department of Health, Martin Bowles. Martin will discuss the central importance of leadership that enables innovation within the bounds of the system, where in a rapidly moving world, technology is changing everything we do. Internationally, we will hear presentations from Gary Ford of the Oxford Academic Health Science Network in the UK, who will outline the role of health networks that span regional partnerships covering all of England to encourage the alignment of NHS needs and research outputs and the adoption of innovation in healthcare to improve patient outcomes. Leslie Levin, founder of Excite International Canada, will discuss the Canadian experience of a transformational approach to health regulation in which end users are collaboratively involved in the upstream decision-making across the continuum from innovation to adoption. Helen Bevan, leader of the Horizons team in the English National Health Service, will join by WebEx, and Helen will examine the ideas, tools and approaches of leading practitioners of large-scale change around the globe, in which positional power and authority, a so-called parent-child approach, is shifting to networks and social movements, and she will examine its mapping to healthcare. In handing over to Norman and in introducing our first distinguished speaker, two things are ringing in my ears from discussions with our speakers in the run-up to this symposium. The first was captured by Leslie Levin, who I spoke to by phone in Canada, who offered, "There is a special place in heaven for health policy makers because their life on earth is hell. No matter what they do, it won't be enough." Secondly, as articulated to me by Norman, and of relevance to the presentation by our opening speaker, the quality of a healthcare system is arguably judged by how it delivers for the most disadvantaged groups that it serves. These two sentiments appropriately segue to our opening speaker, Lisa Jackson-Pulver, who among other positions is Pro-Vice-Chancellor, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Leadership of Western Sydney University. A Wiradjuri woman from Cadigal land. Lisa's abstract of her presentation in the program is from the heart. and addresses the issue of closing the gap to achieve health and well-being for our Aboriginal Australian community, for whom the health statistics remain most confronting, despite various policy settings to address this haunting national issue. Finally, the panel discussion that follows speaker presentations moderated by Norman will also include Bruce Neal from the George Institute for Global Health, who has a long-standing interest in the management of high blood pressure and diabetes and the potential for changes in food supply to deliver health gains, and Michael Farrell, the Director of the National Drug and Alcohol Research Centre, whose interests span mental health, addictions, neuroscience and ageing. With that introduction, I'll hand over to Norman, and again, a warm welcome to our speakers, and particularly those who've come so far.